Filing for Social Security is one of those things you only do once in your life. You sit down to do it, hit a wall on something you forgot, and then one of two things happens. Either you stop and put it off for another couple weeks, or you push through and make a decision that you could end up regretting later. I'm Eric, and this is Retirement Simplified. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 6 items you need to gather before you start your application for Social Security. Some of the pieces of information are really easy to gather. Some of them you'll have to think through a couple decisions, but none of them are difficult once you know what you're looking through. I sit through these enrollment meetings with clients all the time, and the same 6 things keep coming up again and again. Now, there are 3 different ways one can file for Social Security. The most common is you file online at ssa.gov. You could call them on the telephone and make an appointment that way, or you can meet up in person at your local Social Security office. But all 3 of them need the same prep work we're discussing today. One thing to keep in mind, filing for Social Security is, for the most part, a one-shot decision. Once it's in motion, undoing it gets a little complicated, so the prep is definitely worth doing. Number 1, set up an ssa.gov account and don't lose the password. This is the single biggest holdup I see in these enrollment meetings. People wait until the day they want to file, sit down, go to log in, and they either can't remember their username or their password or both. Resetting it isn't always so quick. So the action item here is pretty simple. Log on to ssa.gov today. Even if you're a year or 2 out from filing, just confirm that the login information works. Keep the credentials handy somewhere that you'll actually find them when you need them. While you're in there, I would take a look at the earnings record. That's the record that shows each year you were working, and it shows how much you earned. Social Security uses that information to calculate your benefit. Errors do happen, and if something looks off, maybe a year's missing or a number doesn't match your memory, it's much easier to address it now than to wait until the week you want to file. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This is a lot of work, maybe a little bit. Can I just call my Social Security office and have them walk me through it? You can, but I see 2 things that are going to happen there. First, the time to actually speak to a representative you'll need to make a phone appointment is usually a couple weeks out. And secondly, they're not going to make any of these decisions for you. They'll process paperwork, they'll take your elections, but choices such as what age you should file, should you have taxes withheld from your benefit, and if so, how much, how to coordinate with your work plans, those are still your decisions to make. So the prep work definitely saves you time. It doesn't add to it. Okay, number 2, gather what the application is going to ask you for. Yes, we've done so many of these, we know that what the application is going to ask you. They ask for a lot more than people expect. A lot of it isn't just simple documents. Most of it is information you need to have at your fingertips, so you're not scrambling mid-application. Let me walk you through some of these categories. First, pretty obvious here, your personal information, Social Security, date of birth, place of birth, your current home address, email address, phone number, etc. They're going to ask every last name that you've ever had. So that could be maiden name, prior married name, all of it. If you've been through a divorce or a name change, the application's going to ask about that. Secondly, the application is going to ask for your marriage and your family information. That would be your spouse's full date of birth, Social Security number. Yes, they're going to ask for that, even though you're not claiming on your spouse's record. They want it on file. So dates and places of current marriage and prior marriages is some of the ones that I find are the most difficult to find mid-application. If you currently have children that are younger than age 18, or disabled, or still in high school, Social Security application is going to want to know their names and dates of birth also. Number 3, your work information. If you're retired, they'll want to know your last year that you worked. If you're still working, the application is going to ask for your current employer's name, the address. That work information ties directly into the next few points, so make sure that you have it handy. Number 4, this could be a decision you could make in advance. This is something new called the advance designee. Most people haven't heard of it because it's relatively new. An advanced designation lets you name up to 3 people you want Social Security to appoint as your personal payee. That would be someone who could manage your benefits for you if maybe somewhere down the road you become unable to manage those by yourself. It's optional, but I think it's worth having an answer ready. Most people will pick a spouse, an adult child, or maybe a sibling. You'll need their contact information. I believe it's a name and a phone number, but make sure you have a quick conversation with them before you file, just so they know. If your situation includes anything special, Let's say maybe you're self-employed, or you worked outside of the United States, or you have a governmental pension that wasn't covered by Social Security, or let's say you've been disabled and there are rules over the past 14 months or longer. There's going to be an additional few questions about each of those, so definitely worth knowing that those questions are coming. Number 3, decide on your start month. That's the one item that takes people by surprise. Social Security doesn't just start the moment you file. You're going to pick a date in the future when you want your benefits to begin. Now, that month sets everything. It sets everything from when your first check arrives, how much you've earned that year from work, which matters if you're still working. It sets up the benefit amount to line up with Medicare. You can apply up to 4 months before your start month, which does give you some flexibility on when you actually want to submit the application. There is not one right answer here. The right month is really going to depend on lots of things. If you're 65, if you're still working, what your cash flow situation looks like. You'll probably want to map this out with your advisor before you lock in a start date. Number 4, know your work plans. If you're still working, run something called the earnings test math before you pick a start date. Now, this one trips people up the most. If you file for Social Security before your full retirement age and you're still drawing a paycheck from work, there's an income cap associated with it. If you cross over it, then a portion of your Social Security benefit could get withheld. In 2026, that cap was $24,480. Now, that number changes a little bit each year. Look up the current figures online before you act on it. Here's how it ties to the application itself. If you're still working when you file, the application is going to ask you for 2 things: your current employer's name, address, and what your projected earnings are going to be for this year that you filed. That projected earnings number is the same one that determines whether or not you'll be over the cap. So before you file, sit down and figure out how much you actually expect to earn from work between January and when you file this year. If you go over that cap, that's definitely a conversation worth having amongst yourselves or with your advisor before you pick your start month, not after. Number 5, get your direct deposit information ready and decide where that money should land. This is the easiest one. Social Security only pays by direct deposit. The application is going to ask you for 4 things: the name of your bank, the type of account that you want your money to go into, like checking or savings. They're going to ask for the routing number and for your bank account number. Now, this is going to be a new monthly source of income landing in your bank account for the rest of your life. Where do you want to have it deposited? Now, a lot of people will just say, put it into my existing checking account, the one that I've been using forever. Sometimes we put that in as a joint account with the recipient and their spouse. Some people would prefer to have a separate account where you specifically put that Social Security money in there, and that can pay for a certain amount of bills, etc. Some people like to keep it simple and just let it land in the checking account that they're already using. Others find it easier to plan and budget when that retirement income lands in an account of its own dedicated for some specific purpose. Number 6, decide on tax withholding. There's been lots of talk recently about whether Social Security is taxable, and if so, how much. That conversation is going to be different for everyone. Now, this isn't part of the actual Social Security application, but it's worth noting. You can choose to have federal income tax withheld from your Social Security benefit. The default is 0. So it's up to you if you want to have taxes withheld. And they do things a little bit different at Social Security than they did maybe with your past employer or retirement account. Here, you're going to pick from one of 4 flat tax rates: 7, 10%, 12%, or 22%. That choice may affect what you owe at the end of the tax year, so it's worth noting that number you want before you sit down. Remember, the withholding choice is a separate decision from the rest of your application. 2, it's yours to make. It's not the call of whoever's processing your Social Security application. Deciding on your Social Security withholding percentage before you go to file the application makes the process way easier than if you're trying to decide on the fly. All right, so let's run through these all 6 one more time. Number 1, set up your SSA account. Make sure you've got your username and password locked in. 2, wrangle all the information that you're going to need for the application: your personal information, current marriage, previous marriage, your family information, work, in that advanced designee that we talked about earlier. 3, you want to decide on your start month. Number 4, know what your work plans. If you are under the full retirement age and you're still collecting a paycheck, run the earnings test math to make sure that there's no surprises. Number 5, have your direct deposit information. Very important so they can pay you properly. Number 6, decide on the tax withholding before you even sit down to file. Now, none of these are catastrophes on their own, but every one of them costs people money or time or both when they get missed. So filing for Social Security isn't hard. It's just a lot of small pieces. Do the prep work now before you sit down, and the application itself is the easy part. You walk in knowing what you're choosing instead of guessing. Map it out now. Don't wait to the last minute. Thank you so much for watching this video. That is your retirement simplified. I'll catch you at the next one.